Today is February. No, it's not February anymore. I know I didn't do much vlogging the last couple weeks because I've been busy. A little bit more important things than doing vlogging. So hopefully this vlogging will catch you guys at a good time and that you'll get something out of it. As always, I want to do the disclaimer about that these thoughts are my thoughts. So hopefully no one else will be anyways, I don't want to I don't know. Anyways, so I was reading about humility today in my daily devotional, and I wanted to share a little bit of the thoughts that came to my mind, and hopefully it will bless you, because what I want to do is try to be able to help people just to kind of understand things. You know, because this life's pretty complicated, and making mistakes tend to make your life a little bit more complicated than it is already. So let's try to be humble. The first thing that I was reading is that about humility is about being a bit about self-awareness. Self-awareness. Like, you don't know how you come across to other people. Unless you're in their shoes. A lot of self-awareness is like just knowing the capacity to feel different situations and to be in different situations, that you could be able to have a little bit of humility in your life about just self-awareness. Self-awareness could also be a little bit too much self-awareness too. So again, you got to be humble about your self-awareness too, and to know that in life, no matter who you are, there's always someone better than you. There's always someone worse than you. So you got to be content with who you are, and not compare yourself to anybody that's worse or anything that's better. Jesus Christ is obviously better. He's perfect. He did everything perfectly. He lived the perfect life in our place. And the devil, on the other hand, you really can't compare yourself to him either, because he's like totally super evil. But as godly people, we're supposed to be striving to be like Christ, because Christ is the standard of everything. That's like in salvation itself. If you come to God humbly, like in the Bible it talks about coming to Christ as a child, and when you're coming to Christ as a child, you're going to be having a childlike faith, and children tend to completely depend on adults around them, and come to adults and feel that adults have their better interests. And we know that, adults in this life, things are very much it's sinful people, and children are born with sin natures and all that stuff, and selfishness and whatever. But we need to be approaching God in a way that's humble. So with all that said, when it comes to salvation, if you think you had anything to do with it, that's not humble. You're not being humble when you're like, oh, well, I chose God, I love Jesus, this and that. If you're approaching God in that way of unhumbleness, I don't think that you're saved. Because if you think that any of what you did was condition of your salvation, that's completely unhumble. So with all that said, do you have self-awareness? Do you have humility? Do you compare yourself to other people? Don't do that. You are a whole different individual. You know, if you're a single guy out there and you're like, oh, no one's gonna like me, blah, blah, blah. Dude, you are your own person. And then females may have a little bit easier. But you have to be humble and think, like, even if you are able to date somebody that's totally that you think is out of your league, you got to think of it as something that you didn't deserve or earn. You don't remind your partner, you know, if you're a guy dating a woman, or a woman dating a guy, you don't remind them all the time, like, oh, I don't deserve you, and stuff like that. I mean, there might be situations, but if you base your whole relationship on like the whole not deserving, I mean, in earthly relationships it's different, you know, but when you approach God in humbleness and say, oh, thank you for choosing me, thank you, Heavenly Father, for what you've done in my life. And it just coming like, you know, in the hymn it says, nothing in my hand I bring, but simply to the cross I cling. So just be humble. I know it's easier said than done, but you're not better than anyone else, and everyone is different, and God is sovereign, and that's where we have to totally count on God's sovereignty to save us. And He's the one that made a difference in your life. He's the one that is ultimately putting you back together to the way that it was meant to be.